Hello, Luke. I was looking at your input and selection structures program, and there's something happening I don't think you noticed. I almost missed it. I was running it, and I'm like, wait a minute, something seems a little off. Let's look at it. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So, looking here at the program, I've been running it. You see, I got some output already. So, it looks like, well, you calculated how much more they need to spend to get the free gift, right? The 200. That's great. Got a budget, remaining budget. So, if it's less than 200, then you're going to print that. You need to spend this much more. Otherwise, you qualify for a free gift. And then you're figuring out what the user can buy to meet the 200. So if it's 0 to 75, you recommend the mini North Pole plunge. Then you have another if statement that says if it's between 76 and 150. Now, here's the thing, though. 76, where does that fit? Or 75, where does that fit? Because this says less than 75, which means 75 won't be in this. And this is greater than 76. You probably need to put an equals in there. Let's not equal to 75, greater than equal. Let's just, good thing to test. Let's look at 75. What if I put 75 in there? What's it do? It says your budget is 75. If you spend extra 125, you get a free gift, and you get a hug for wanting to spend that much money. We should have had some recommendation, but that is because basically this is checking from 1 to 74 because you didn't put it equal. So we put less than or equals to 75, and we can put an equal in this. So there you go. And we do what less than 200, because if they spend 200, then they make this. They'll qualify for the free gift. So we'll do that. Let's test this again. 75. Run. Oh, it's not working. Oh, wait, I got an invalid. What did I do? Line 29. Oh, maybe the equals has to go after the greater than. Let's try that. Yeah, now it moved the error down here 32. The equals have to go after the greater than. Yes, okay. So as long as we have it afterwards, it should run. Yeah, now it works. Let's do the 75. And now it recommends the Minty North Pole plunge because it's less than or equal to 75. So you got to put the equals afterwards. That was creating an error. So now that should work. But look at this. You get a hug for wanting to spend that much money. I don't think you meant that to say that. What if I said $0? So you get a hug. If I say $125, you get a hug. And if I say $1,000, you get a hug and you get a free gift. The thing that's happening with that, because that's what I didn't notice at first. I'm like, wait a minute, you have that down here like the last thing, if none of these work. But the reason that that's not doing the way you planned it, I don't believe, is because you made all of these ifs. So basically, it checks this. If this is true, print that. If it's, oh, I didn't mean to rearrange it. If that's true, print that. But then, if that's not true, it doesn't do anything because it's an if statement. So it checks this if statement. That's true, it'll do that. If this is true, it'll do that. Else, it'll do that. This is only doing an else for the last if statement. I think what you meant was if this is true, do that. Else, if this is true. So this should be an elif. So if this isn't true, check this. If this isn't true, check this. So that should be an elif. And if none of these are true, then do that. So if this was true, it was printing this, and then this wasn't true, and since this one wasn't true, it printed this. If one of these two was true, it was still printing this because those were separate if statements. They weren't tied together. Now they're tied together. If this, else, if this, else, if this, and else if none of those are true. So now if we do $75, extra 125, get a free gift. We recommend a mini North Pole plunge, and it doesn't say you get a hug for wanting to spend that much money. That was the thing. Is these if you're tying all these together, make sure you're using else if, so that all of these work together. And yeah, and I didn't notice this equal sign before, but yeah, make sure you're covering all the numbers because without the equals, 75 and 76 were excluded. It wouldn't know what to do with those. But otherwise, I like it. A lot of good stuff here. A lot of good stuff, just little bitty errors. And it's really logic errors because the program ran, it didn't stop the program. So they're really logic errors because it doesn't produce what you expect it to produce, but easily fixable stuff, man. All right, we'll see you in class.